Hey everyone, Jason Schappert here with another update, an update for our hobbyists now. Now, as you may know, the main difference between a recreational drone pilot, also called a hobbyist, and a certified or certificated Part 107 pilot is that only the Part 107 pilot may do commercial work or work for hire. It's actually compensation or hire is how they word it. Even if someone's just paying you $50 to go up and snap a photo of their home, it's paying for the job. Therefore, legally, you must be a Part 107 certificated pilot. What are the differences? Well, hobbyists must stay under 400 feet AGL at all times. As you know from studying for your Part 107 knowledge test, a certified remote pilot may go beyond 400 feet when flying near a tall structure, but the hobbyist would not be able to do that truly at any time. So now there are some more differences that we've had all along here, but as of a few months ago, there have been some updates to the hobbyist rules by the FAA, so let's go over those here now. So up to now, the hobbyist has not had to take an exam, whereas the Part 107 certification is based on a rigorous knowledge test. However, there have been some indications, some rumblings in the FAA that they will implement some sort of knowledge test even for the hobbyist. It hasn't happened yet. We expect something coming from the FAA before too long. Another item the FAA, kind of the recent rule update plane, is that the hobbyist must register their aircraft if it weighs at least 0.55 pounds, 250 grams. Before it was just a good idea to register, now it's required. So if you want to register, you must go to the FAA Drone Zone app. This is something they flip-flopped on a few times now. This is how it stands here today. Another update in the FAA rules for hobbyists is that they must now seek authorization when flying in controlled airspace. It used to be the hobbyist only had to notify ATC air traffic control when flying within 5 miles of an airport, but it wasn't an authorization request, simply just a notification, whereas Part 107 pilots would submit an authorization request and then you have to wait for a response. We were waiting for a long time there for a while before Lance, weren't we? Interestingly, there is one circumstance, though, in which the hobbyist does not need to seek permission to fly in controlled airspace, and that is when they are flying at recreational flying fields, which are areas designated for flying recreational aircraft. These are typically run by the Academy of Model Aeronautics, or AMA. Now, when these fields are located near an airport within controlled airspace, they already have an agreement with the FAA, and it kind of serves as a blanket, essentially, a blanket authorization. So as a hobbyist, you could go to one of these fields, even if it's located within 5 nautical miles of an airport. You don't need permission from the FAA if you're at that AMA field. Now, here's a really cool new thing, and this is good news for both hobbyists and the Part 107 pilot. It's the LANCE system. We've been talking about LANCE a lot. LANCE stands for Low Altitude Authorization and Notification Capability. This is a fairly recent program developed by the FAA in conjunction with us in the SUAS industry to make it a lot easier for drone pilots to get quick and automated authorizations in certain controlled airspace locations. Now, for the Part 107 pilot, if you request it, it's simple. You don't necessarily have to apply 9 days ahead of time like we used to do, wait for weeks for a response. We literally can get an immediate response. For hobbyists, it offers a way to comply with the new FAA rule requiring them to get permission to fly near an airport. So how does it work? Well, you go to airmap.com where you can see a chart of the controlled airspace in your location. You see all the typical circles that we've taught so much about, Class B, C, D, E airspace surrounding the airports. Notice that the grid superimposed over each airspace. This, by the way, is the LANCE system, these grids. You simply locate the quadrant of the grid where you want to fly, and a little pop-up box tells you the max altitude that if you made the request would likely result in an immediate and automated authorization. In some quadrants, it's just 100 feet. In others, it's 400 feet. And some quadrants, you'll see 0, meaning flight's not allowed under the LANCE system in this particular sector. So in those cases, the Part 107 pilot would want to submit a request the traditional way of waiting up to 90 days for authorization. This LANCE system, though, is a great way to speed up the authorization process. I remember a friend of mine who was asked to photograph a one-story building from the air. It happened to be in Class Delta airspace near a GA, General Aviation Airport. Figured he had no choice but to submit the request that he could take weeks, he told his clients he was unable to perform the job in a timely manner. However, with Lance's system, he probably only needed to go up 50, 60 feet. The chances of his quadrant allowing him the maximum height in there would have allowed for immediate authorization here. So in summary, the FAA is trying to get the hobbyist to be a little bit more like a commercial Part 107 pilot, as well as make rules that help keep controlled airspace safer. And I hope that before long, we'll see this written exam for the hobbyist so we can continue to deliver value to you all to be able to teach all of that now. And just for fun, by the way, here are a couple of questions that came up in the FAA's FAQs, frequently asked questions, for hobbyists. Do I need to register my drone if I'm flying in my own yard at home? The answer is, well, yes, you do. It doesn't matter if you're flying at home or in your backyard, you still need to register it. Do I need to register it if I'm flying inside? And the answer is actually no. You don't need to register your drone to fly inside a building. Apparently the FAA considers interior flight to be off radar, so to speak, in a way. But I would ask, how big is this room you're flying in first? Be careful not to crash or drone into a wall or anything like that. The bottom line is this: it is best for you to become a Part 107 certificated pilot for the simple reasons that you can always fly for fun in addition to flying for hire. But on top of that, you gain all the knowledge about aviation that comes with studying for your Part 107 knowledge test. I hope you really enjoyed this. We're looking for your comments down below this video on YouTube, on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe and like remotepilot101.com as well. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you. Remote Pilot 101 is the most successful Part 107 test prep course on the market, with over 18,000 tests passed. It's one price, and you get our updated initial and brand new recurrent course for life. It's two courses for the price of one, and it's for life. See the actual test questions, learn the material, take the practice quizzes, all at your own pace through our easy videos you've already grown to love. Visit remotepilot101.com to become a member for life and learn more.